if you watch my previous video on the Ewok show, at the end of that video, I talk about how I hope that the show doesn't get worse. Well, it did. The second season of Ewoks is worse than the first. There must have been some like corporate had to do something with this. Like the corporation that made the show probably told the people who made this show to just babyify it. What I mean is that this show is completely different from season 1. There's like a few things that have carried over from the last season. Character designs have changed, the voice actors have changed, animation-wise kind of changed a little bit, and it's so just when I watched the first episode, it was so weird. And I was like, oh, I see why this show is forgotten about. Because it sucks. This season most resembles the Smurfs in a way that it's the same 4 characters for every episode. I should talk about the characters. Some characters have changed. The character, what's his name? Tebow, whatever the hell his name is. Tebow. I'm just gonna call him Tebow, or whatever. His character changed. He's now this dumb, like, clumsy idiot. He wasn't like that before. Also, I think they added a new female Ewok in the main cast of characters. I don't think it was in the first season. I don't know why. Just, I guess, to make it balanced. I don't know, because the first season I kind of blanked out on. I don't remember much from it. What I remember from the first season, the episodes were much more, you could say somewhat serious. I mean, yeah, it was still dumb, and episodes were kind of pointless, but they were somewhat serious. There is somewhat of a continuity, and there's still somewhat of a continuity in this. Some stuff has carried over from the first season, but most of it have not. Most of the characters, well, actually, most of the grown-up Ewoks barely are in this. Most of the villains are not in this. You'll only see them a couple times. It really does feel like a different show, but they do add some new story to Wicket, the main Ewok, from Return of the Jedi, that Ewok. Wicket has his own kind of adventure, and they make sure that because every episode, I swear to God, they talk about this. Ewok is, Wicket is trying to become this warrior, because trying to be a warrior. And every episode he says, oh, I need to get something for my warrior belt, because he needs like these tokens or like these memorabilia on his belt that represent an adventure he had. And I don't really think it has any, I guess that's the way of trying to have continuity, but I'm gonna be real, I don't remember what he gets, and I think it changes every single time. That's kind of pointless there, but every episode is just, I have to become a warrior, I have to become a warrior, I have to become a warrior. It's just every episode. And it's like, my God, shut up. Also, they don't say Yubnub. I like when they say Yubnub. They don't. They say I don't even know. They say something that's reminiscent of like a Mexican curse word. I swear. It sounds so dumb, and it's annoying because they say it every episode as well. Also, what's worse is that these episodes aren't full-length episodes. Some of them are, but there's a mix between full-length episodes and 11-minute two-parts, like SpongeBob. How there's 2 11-minute stories within half-hour time slot. That's basically what this show is. It basically turned into a very generic show that is forgettable. It's very 80s, but it's not as bad as Droids, because I think there is still that charm, because I think the same writers are still in this, so I still see the charm in this. Like, I can see people being nostalgic for it, because it is it's a very harmless show, but something must have happened that must have changed the show drastically, because it feels different. But I still see the charm in it. There's still remnants of the first season in this that still show up. Also, I don't know if this was in the last season, but there's something called a Sunstone, which is basically like an Infinity Stone from the Marvel films, but it basically has all this power, and it can basically destroy the entire galaxy, and the Ewoks have it, so that's great. But most of the episodes in Season 2 are mundane, your everyday, you can take everything, you can take the Ewoks aspect, take anything Star Wars related from this, you could replace it with anything else. Like, you can take these stories and put them into other shows and it'll work the same way. That's how generic this is. And it's just, that's it. Like, Season 2 is way more generic, way worse than Season 1. But it's not that unwatchable. Yes, when I watched these episodes, I dreaded watching this because it was just, my mind just turned to numb. And it's just, I'm just happy now because I don't have to deal with this anymore. We're not done just yet because I have to rank this season now. So where did this lie in the rankings then? So Season 2 of Ewoks goes above Droid's Adventure, but below Season 1 of Ewoks. So the second season of Ewoks isn't as bad as the, like, Droids show. I'd rather watch, the Ewoks than the Droids, but like I said, it's not, it's something must have happened, because the second season sucks. It's not as good as the first season, but even the first season sucked as well. I'd rather it be the same quality of Season 1, because at least stay within continuity and same tone, but no, Season 2 just feels like a completely different show, and I kind of want it to not be, but it did, so that's why it's below the first season. So once again, we're at a part where another Star Wars show is only at 2 seasons, so I must rank the show as a whole. So the Ewok show as a whole is very, very just bad. It's not as bad as the Droids show, it's not. But like, they do a lot with the Endor setting. There's a lot of different aliens, and I like the world building. I think that's what carried the show for me, is the world building. But when it comes to stories and the characters and basically anything that makes a good story falls completely flat. This is not meant for, like, children to watch. This is meant for babies to watch, and yeah, I don't know where it's aired. I don't know. I would assume this would air like really early in the morning for the babies to wake up to and watch in the mid-80s. But yeah, I suffered through Ewoks, and it's not. I didn't suffer that much because I think I'm numb to this stuff now. I'm not like this isn't such a suffering thing for me anymore. But I still feel the suffering a little bit. So I'm done wasting my time on this show. Where do I rank it then? The entire Ewok show goes above the second season of Ewoks, but below the first season. And it balances each other out. The first 2 seasons suck, but they do, like I said, they balance each other out, and kinda, it's in the middle, in between those 2 seasons. Both seasons suck, but the world building in Ewoks is really good, but the characters suck, the stories suck. Basically, anything that makes a good show or movie, it doesn't have it. But to my knowledge, that is it when it comes to the vintage stuff, like the stuff that was made a long time ago, back in the 80s and 90s. Like this stuff that I have been watching is bad, and I see why no one talks about it. This is the forgotten stuff. I'm glad it's forgotten, but I was interested in watching this because people are like, oh, what Disney has been making is terrible. But it's like, no, it's not. This is terrible. This actually is terrible. If this stuff were to come out today, in the state that it is, the fandom would just be tearing this to shreds. Like, there would be nothing left of it. Like, there is, like, a lot of stuff that I've watched, a lot of stuff on the bottom of this list is, nothing much of good is in this. A lot of bad stuff, a lot of just mishandlement. And it kind of shows, because during the 80s and 90s, Star Wars wasn't really in a, there was no direction. So it was just mindlessly going into many different directions, just trying to bank off the franchise off of other people that worked on better projects, which are the original trilogy. So yeah, I'm done talking about these old shows and movies that aren't the main Skywalker saga, and I'm glad I'm done with this. I never have to review an old show again unless I somehow missed a show, which in that case I have to return to it, but I don't think I have. But if you guys enjoyed this video, then make sure to hit the like button and subscribe. And I'm gonna go now, so goodbye everyone.